Welcome to the Homeschool for the Win podcast, the podcast for homeschool families looking for real conversations, practical insights, and a fresh perspective on homeschooling. Hosted by homeschool consultant and homeschool mom Jeanette McBee and Jose Lopez, a college and career readiness coach who works exclusively with homeschool families. In this podcast, we dive into the latest homeschooling trends, educational choices, and ways to help students discover their passions and future paths, all while building a supportive homeschool community. Whether you're just getting started or been homeschooling for years, join us on Homeschool for the Win and be a part of the conversation that informs, encourages, and inspires your homeschool adventure. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Homeschool for the Win. My name is Jose Lopez, and I'm the owner of Discover Your Win. And today's episode, I want to talk to you about a real pressure that a lot of our students are feeling, especially our high school students. And it's this mindset or this way of thinking that high school students need to figure out their entire lives by the time high school ends. And this pressure, you can see where it's coming from. Sometimes it's coming from parents, other family members, friends, other adults, and especially when they're asking questions that really make students think, like, what are you doing after graduation? What are you going to major in? What career are you choosing? And if you're going to a college and university, which college, which university? And so there's this, and those questions are valid and they're great questions because, especially if family members or friends have curiosity. But however, when students don't have an answer to those questions, it can feel like they're behind. It can feel like they're unsure of what they're doing. And it makes them feel this pressure of, I need to get it figured out. And I don't even want to talk about the added pressure that's on there. Like if you're comparing your kiddo with another sibling, that's hard. But I mean, there's a lot that we can talk about with that. And then there's also an added pressure if you're comparing your kiddo with another student and what their plans are in the future. And so there's this added pressure of, what do I have to do? When am I going to do it? I can't figure it out. And so today, I want to say to you as a WIN coach and as someone who has worked with plenty of homeschool students and students in general, that high schoolers, you do not have to have it all figured out by the time high school ends. And if you don't have it figured out yet, that doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you missed your chance. And for a lot of students, that just means it's life. And so in this episode, I want to talk about 3 things to consider if you're feeling this pressure on trying to figure out your entire life after graduation. Number 1, even Colonel Sanders didn't have it all figured out. Now, I know you're probably thinking, is he really talking about fried chicken? But stay with me because I really do love the Colonel's story. And first, I have a special appreciation for Colonel Sanders because I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for about 10 years. And let me tell you, Kentucky is so proud of its Colonel. And what makes his story so awesome is that it wasn't a linear career. Harlan Sanders was born in 1890, and in his early teens and 20s, he decided to join the Army, and also he was a railroad fireman. And his next career after the Army and being a railroad fireman, he decided to be a lawyer. But his career ended after a courtroom brawl with a client, which damaged his reputation. And so after that, he had to figure something else out. So then in the 1930s, when he was 40 years old, he opened up his own gas station and began serving food. And what did he serve? He served his famous chicken. In 1935, again, he was about 45 years old. He was named an honorary colonel, and his restaurant started getting some great awards during that time as we hit the late 1930s. And around that time, around 1939, he developed his recipe and pressure cooking method that made his chicken famous. And he decided after that he would start franchising his restaurants. And that happened in 1952, about 12 years later. And so in the mid 1950s, he started that little gas station, but after the new interstate reduced traffic to his restaurant, he's decided to sell the location, and he was like, I'm just going to start going around the country and just opening up franchises. And in 1964, at the age of 73, he sold the company after it had grown more than 600 franchises in the United States and Canada. But he didn't disappear after that, because even after that, he became the logo. He became KFC. And so because of that, they said, we need the Colonel to become our official ambassador. And he appeared in ads and commercials. And by 1976, he was named the second most recognizable celebrity in the world. And he died in 1980 at age 90. And still, he is closely identified with the company. You can go to KFC, you can see the chicken. If you see the colors and you see the logo, you can see even the funny commercials that are out there that I saw during the Super Bowl. And so everyone knows about the Colonel. And so I love the Colonel's story, because I can only imagine that if I sat down with the Colonel and I asked him the question of, can you tell me what your life is going to look like when you grow up? And if he were to say, well, I'm probably going to be in the army for the rest of my life, or I'm going to just do some task like working at the railroad as a railroad fireman, and that could have been the visual that he saw. But he didn't see all the other things that were going to come into his place. He saw different types of careers and different types of pivots that his life led him to say, or led him to what he probably didn't see or even imagine. And so I like to use that story, and I like to tell that to students, because when students say, I haven't had it figured out, I'd say that's okay, because Colonel Sanders didn't have it figured out either. But what I like about the Colonel's story is that you can clearly see that there are a lot of things that he did throughout his life, whether it was being in the army, having discipline, whether it was being in the law. They say that he also did some insurance sales and so customer service, but every single task that he did, he tried to do it at his best, so that when the opportunity came for him to start a restaurant and to open his first franchise, he was able to use those skills. And so I love his story, because if you're feeling that pressure of, I need to get it figured out, number one, the Colonel didn't have it all figured out. But number two, you really have to think that what you really have to focus on now is really just, how can I be the best in the position that I'm at right now? How can I be confident that I need to be a student, or I need to go and wherever it is that there's going to be opportunity in the future? Number two, people in career development say it's okay. Now, when I was in grad school, I loved learning about different theories when it came to education, but one theory caught my eye, and it's called the chaos theory of careers. Now, I'm a fan of this just because I like the word chaos and hearing the theory, but when I started to learn about it more, it started to really resonate with my life. It was developed by Robert Pryor and Jim Wright, and it says that career paths are shaped not just by plans, strengths, and goals, but also by change, complexity, chance, and circumstances which we cannot fully control. In other words, careers, life, it's not linear, it's chaotic, and it moves in different strands and different ways that sometimes it's unpredictable. So that's the one reason why I think this idea is so helpful for students to know, because a lot of people grow up thinking career decisions work like a straight line. They choose a route and they go from there. And so from my experience working with homeschool families, I think I would say 9 times out of 10, when I speak in groups of homeschool families and I ask the question, who had a direct career that started from one place, you knew where you wanted to go, and then it just kind of unfolded that was the career that you ended on? 9 times out of 10, everyone says that's not the fact. In fact, I've only had like one person who raised their hand and said, I knew what I was going to do and I knew the path and I've been still doing, I'm still on it. You can do this survey on your own where you start asking other people on what was your career path. And you're going to hear a lot of people who have different ideas of where they were planning on going and just how it just really developed. And so the chaos theory just really says that careers and life just usually don't work out neatly. And people are influenced by family, finances, opportunities, disappointments, relationships. And so there's so much influencing. But when I say all that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't plan because everything's going to be chaotic and fall into play. It just means that, or you shouldn't plan or reflect. Like you should do all those things to prepare. However, there are still some things that are out of your control that are going to still get you to where you are. On a personal note, I'll tell you a little bit about my life. I have a bachelor's degree in hospitality management. And for the longest time as a teen, I wanted to open up my own restaurant or work at a hotel. And so I decided to pursue a bachelor's degree in hospitality management. However, I got an internship in corporate sales and then started my career in corporate sales as well. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to switch my career to education, and so now I'm in education where I work in a higher ed. And then I also have started a business on education as well. And so life was chaotic. Life was crazy. Life showed me that there were different ways to still get to where I'm at right now. But however, what did I do to help me to get there was I just remained faithful and I did the best that I could in each one of those opportunities. And so in hospitality, I learned about great customer service. In sales, it was really how to connect and solve problems. And so in education, I see that it's the same way where I can help students to determine where they want to go next by making and adding those plans. And so by each step, by being faithful, trying my hardest, it created this plan. But there's no way that you could have talked to me back in the day when I was a teen and said, "Hey, did you know that you're going to be in education?" And I would have said, "No, I'm going to be in a restaurant." But luckily, I was also open up to all these opportunities that filled those skills as well. So, number two, remember, career development says it's okay that if your career is a little chaotic. Number three, what do I do if I'm feeling pressure? If you're feeling pressure to figure out what you have to do after high school, hopefully there are some ways that you can feel encouraged, hopefully through Colonel Sanders or chaos theory, that you don't have to have it all figured out. However, if you are feeling that pressure, one thing to do is just to take a deep breath. Just stop for a little bit and just really just remember that there are going to be lots of opportunities in the futures for on and off ramps. So if you think about high school, this is one of your on ramps. You're in this high school season where you're supposed to be just really researching and exploring different types of careers. Your off ramps could be different areas. And if you don't know which route you're going to take, whether you're going to college or university or going into the workforce, the one thing I would do is just stop, take a break, and just really just kind of say, okay, if I don't know and I don't want to commit to going to a college or university, maybe I just take some time where I can just enter into the workforce. If you do think that you want to go to college university, then maybe you're extending your exploration until the first 2 years of your college and university where you're taking some gen ed classes. But when you do that, when you take a break where you're uh, either taking a gap year or you're going into the workforce or just relying on that gen ed time to really focus on what your next steps are, you really need to be intentional that you're looking and you're seeking opportunities, that you're taking time to really just have a plan, doing some reflection, and just making sure that you're looking for those opportunities. A lot of students, what I'll see is they'll just go with the flow and they'll take some classes and they won't think about it. And poof, they'll be up to a point where they have to make some decisions on majors and they still have no clue. Not only is that dangerous, but sometimes it could be a waste of time if you're not sure where to go. And so, my last practical advice that I would have for that is just really to pray and just invite God into your career journey where you're asking Him to show you to open doors and and close doors for opportunities that's going to help you to get to your next steps. And so, right now, if you're in high school and you're feeling that pressure,
first thing I would do is take off that pressure by saying you have all life to figure out what it is that you want to do. The next thing I would say is really invite, pray, and just pray that God just helps to show you what your next steps are to be. Is it that you're going to stand still and then just focus on the skills that you're having right now? Are you going to pray that He opens doors for you to get connected with someone to help you to bring clarity onto what your next steps are? Are you asking a group of um, other students or parents to just pray with you to make sure that you can feel that pressure off? Because really, that's the thing, is that to be faithful for where you are right now will help bring clarity of where you're going to go next. And as you continue to build the skills that you're doing currently and doing it the best that you can, you don't know how those building blocks are going to help you for whatever's next in your chapter in your career. And so you want to be faithful. You want to feel that you're prepared for the next step. And when that does happen, the next thing to do that I always recommend is to thank God that He's helping to get you where you are. And that's how I feel right now, is that I'm so thankful to be able to talk with you all and to share this advice as well. And so for my last bit of encouragement for you all is, number one, please, you do not have to have it all figured out by the time high school ends. There's no blueprint that's going to show that you're going to be successful if you figure it out. There's nothing out there that's guaranteed that you're going to be amazing at what you do. But what you need to do is right now is to be faithful, have humility, wisdom, and willingness to invite God to wherever it is that you want to go, and trust that He's going to grow you and He's going to walk with you in those next steps. And so I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I just really, if you have questions or if you're feeling that pressure and you just want some encouragement and you want to reach out to us, feel free to connect with us on Facebook on our Homeschool for the Win Facebook page. And we'd love to start a conversation to help you all. And I hope you all are feeling more encouraged that you don't have to figure it out right now, because if you were to ask any adult, they might say, hey, we don't even have it figured out right now either. So I'm praying for you all, and I hope that you have a good one. Bye.